Welcome to the Happy Mama Movement podcast. I'm Amy Taylor-Kabbaz, mama, journalist, coach, and founder of Mama Rising. This podcast is a space of community and collaboration. We gather stories of matrescence, motherhood, womanhood, and change told by our Mama Rising coaches and mothers around the globe, in the knowing that through our stories, we can begin to heal and change the way the world sees, values, and supports mothers everywhere. So, welcome to the Happy Mama Movement. And welcome to an episode of Take the Mic. Take the Mic is an initiative of Mama Rising to hand this platform and this microphone over to one of our amazing Mama Rising coaches and facilitators around the world to give her a chance to share her story of matrescence and motherhood, the stories of the mothers in her community, so we can all hear each other's stories, heal together, and change the way the whole world acknowledges matrescence and motherhood. So here is one of our coaches.
Hi, I'm Eliane. I'm very grateful to have the chance to talk to you today about my matrescence journey. To start, I want to acknowledge all the women who have come before me, and the strong line of women that I was born into, both in Germany and also in my adopted Irish side of the family, as well as the ancient Irish women who were the custodians of the wells around us. So in Irish mythology, there's a very strong connection between women, water, and wisdom. And I want to acknowledge and reaffirm that in the ground that I live in, which is the foothills of the Dublin Mountains, and our closest well is St. Columkille's Well, where I live. I have two sons who are almost 11 and 8. I live in Dublin in Ireland. I'm originally from Germany. I have lived in Ireland now for 16 years. I used to work in art as a gallery manager. I loved that job, actually. I gave it up after having my first child because childcare is very expensive in Ireland. And my beloved art sector pay would not have been able to even come near covering the costs for childcare. So with that, we are straight into the reality of motherhood and matrescence in Ireland, but in a lot of places, I think. Personally, I first found Amy back in 2015. I signed up for one of her first Redefine programs. I did Mama Rising twice, once in 2019 and once in 2020. I just felt I couldn't stop learning about matrescence. And during COVID, I think COVID really brought out the need to put self-discovery and self-preservation into practice. It was almost like it was needed for our survival at the time. So yes, I did Mama Rising twice. I'm a double trained Mama Rising facilitator. And when I started out on my journey of motherhood, I expected it to be very natural. I expected it to be kind of easy, really. Something that just comes naturally to a woman if she does decide to go down that path. Breastfeeding especially was something that even my mother had said was just a very natural thing that would just happen. And I didn't realize at the time that I would find it very difficult and that it wouldn't have, if it wasn't for a family friend who helped us through the initial tough time, I would have definitely given up. So I already realized that the Irish health system, the support was not ideal. Um, it was focused much more on the baby. There wasn't that much thought given to mothers or space given to mothers at all. And it could have been just easy to feed the baby formula and that's it. Um, there, I already encountered many of the pitfalls of the world of motherhood, where your own expectations or others aren't being met and you end up feeling less than or a not good enough mother. Um, I went back to work then after my first child and soon encountered all the hardship that it entails, the planning, the organizing, the leaving your child behind, the shame when your child is the first dropped and the last one picked up in creche, when the anger when he's sick, and of course you are the one that has to cancel going into work, the guilt when you miss the last bus and you haven't been able to cuddle them all day and they're already asleep. I learned that emotions, and many of them contradicting, confusing, most of them overwhelming, are literally endless when it comes to motherhood. Um, After my working mom experience came the invisibility of being a stay at home mom with my second child. And during that time, I was then home with both children. I was feeling completely outnumbered and overwhelmed on a daily basis. I struggled with wearing all the different hats consistently and constantly, caring for others, um, and completely losing yourself in it, really, yet feeling absolutely unseen and unvalued by our society. So I ended up doing more and more and more and trying to do everything better and better and better. Um, and I think it was all these feelings and emotions that basically led to my cracking open moment, if you want to call it that, which was during a night feed, or actually after. Um, I came back in from feeding our youngest son, and I came back into a bedroom. And that night I had felt particularly cold and lonely, which can happen at night feeds quite regularly. And my husband had said something when I came back into the room. Now, the funny thing is that I don't actually remember what it was that he said. I presume it was actually something quite trivial and it wasn't meant to hurt me or a complaint or anything like that. It was, except in that moment, to me, it was the last drop in like a rolling ocean, and it pulled the trigger for me. And I fired my mobile phone at him across the room, aiming for his head. Thankfully, my aim is quite bad. So nothing happened to him. My phone just crashed into the wall and broke. But something had happened to me. I had cracked open somehow, and like a volcano, all this anger was pouring out. It was red, hot, fierce, all consuming. I'd never felt anything like that before. It felt kind of mind blowing, like a source of power and danger at the same time. Um, I thought I was going insane. I thought maybe my brain was broken. I knew something was happening to me, but I couldn't explain it or stop it. And I was angry. I was so angry most of the time. And after that first outburst, I would try and um, bury it kind of like a shameful secret, but anger doesn't like to be put away and buried. So it would come out again, and mostly against the people around me who really didn't deserve any of it and to be on the receiving end. So I felt like I was on a downward spiral of anger and resentment and blame and rage and shame. And I had no idea how to get off this train that was going full speed in the wrong direction. So that's when I knew that I needed to find help. And I tried to find out what was happening to me. And during that search, I found Amy and her online programs all the way across the world in Australia. And I'm so grateful that I did. Um, that's how my journey of self-discovery really began. Um, and I still remember when Amy herself actually found out about matrescence. I think it was through Dr. Arlieth in the US at the time. And she told us through one of our coaching calls. It was very emotional for so many of us. There were a lot of tears. Um, and I think that was because we all felt that maybe, just maybe, whatever big emotions or topics we were personally struggling with in our motherhood journey, we weren't all going crazy or insane, or we weren't not good enough or failing, but that maybe what we were struggling with was actually our own versions, personal versions of matrescence. And where, of course, we all have our different mountains to climb, but it finally validated it all. Um, it told us this is actually something real. These changes you're going through are real. You are a changed person, everlasting. And it's not just you, it happens to every woman who becomes a mother in many different ways. I wish I had known this before I became a mama, because it would have created a softer landing, a cushion, um, a kinder awakening to what it's like to be a mother, to change, to morph into something else, like a butterfly going through its chrysalis. It can be a wonderful thing. It is a beautiful thing. And I truly believe that nature didn't intend to make it such a harsh experience. But the reality for so many mamas in our modern Western world is just that. It can be harsh, it's bright, it's blinding and lonely and confusing and overwhelming, and it's messy. It is so, so messy. So this knowledge that it's not only your baby that you're pushing out of your body, but you're also creating the mother. She's born at the same time. And there will be all these changes within your physical body, within your hormonal body, within your brain, within your social status, within your financial status, your own role and value in the world. And that the woman that was will never be the same again. I think I probably would have still gotten angry. Even if I'd known before, I would have still mourned my own self. And the person that I was, I would have still struggled with wearing all the hats, being all the things to everyone else. And I would still like to change these things now and have care work and mothering valued in a different way in society. But if I would have known it before, I could have been more prepared. And most importantly, I would not have thought that it is just me, that I'm somehow broken. Internalizing all these dark emotions, they would have been out there to learn, to investigate, to see, to hear, to discuss with others. So for me, learning about matrescence really never stops, because our lives evolve and change, and so do the children that we mother. COVID lockdowns, the way the world shrank around us, the way I feel about losing my own mother only 3 years ago, feelings of grief and loss that just come back uninvited, reminding me yet again to face them and find the balance in it all. That has made me so interested in the taboos, in the unspoken truths, the hidden grief and loss and shame and guilt, the loneliness, all the darker emotions we might encounter within motherhood. I would like to help bring them into the light for mamas to acknowledge them, to see them, and work on surrendering and letting them go. I have learned that, to me, they're kind of two sides of a medal now. So there's always finding joy within the grief. There's healing within the sadness. There's a newfound somewhere within your loss. And that is really my big vision for the future of all mamas, is that we may learn through matrescence to be in balance with it all. We do not need to be perfect. We don't want to be perfect anymore. We can see how detrimental it is for our mental health. We need to just be allowed to be exactly who we are and stand wherever we are on our journey. Letting our emotions be seen and heard and validated, and realize that we are not alone. So now that I am in a better place than I have been for years, I want to finally bring some of my ideas into the world. I did a survey here in Ireland quite recently, and 80% of mums that I had interviewed had never heard of matrescence. 70% of 35 to 45-year-old mums who have multiple and older children said that they still feel stuck in survival mode. And this is years after they've had their first child. So my business, The Sane Mama, is only in its baby phases, but I want to focus on bringing those hidden emotions of motherhood into the light and supporting mums in getting out of survival mode. I'd like to do that by combining it with embodiment practices that were a really vital part of my own journey in shifting my anger, and helped me dealing with a lot of buried emotions. So I would like to offer a mix of embodiment practices together with meditation and reflective practices. I am also trying to set up a project that's very close to my heart. At the moment, I'd like to start collecting stories of shame and regret and basically buried shame from real life mamas anonymously, to hopefully lift that weight a little, and later on in the future, hopefully be able to share these anonymously, obviously, as well as a real life exhibition. So if you're interested in taking part in that project, please email me directly. It's Insane Mama Moments. And yes, if you want to connect, please do. All my details are in the show notes. And thank you to Amy and all the Mama Rising team for this amazing opportunity to speak on this beautiful podcast.